In their book, Schmidt and Cohen discuss the future of revolution, but you describe their book as a simplistic fusion of Fukuyama's end of history ideology and faster mobile phones. How do you see the future of revolution, and one that moves beyond the boundaries of Google's vision?
Unfortunately, it's not surprising that this Fukuyama end of history ideology, this American liberal centrism, is part of Google's way of looking at the world, because Francis Fukuyama is on the board of the New America Foundation. And the New America Foundation, which is a Washington, D.C. based think tank funded principally by Eric Schmidt, but also by the US State Department. That's Eric Schmidt's principal ideological vehicle in the United States. There's about 110 people working for it. That vision for the future, I think it's not intellectually it's not interesting. It is this really quite banal, even provincial way of looking at the world, but nonetheless, that is the most aggressive or most infective ideology that there is at the moment. I mean, it couples loosely to American neoliberalism, and it is in fact the dominant ideology, if we at least exclude the Chinese, that the world has. And so I think to sort of point, we need to see how vacuous and dangerous that ideology is if we are to create effective alternatives to it.
Google's meeting with you was presumably to research their own book. How did they end up representing you and WikiLeaks?
Well, afterwards, and I describe this story in the book, it was very interesting to meet Eric Schmidt. We got along quite well, and also with Jared Cohen. These are not unpersonable people. But later on it became clear that they immediately reported that meeting to their contacts at the State Department, to such a degree that later on, when I needed to speak to Hillary Clinton about cables we were going to publish for legal reasons, just to notify that we were going to do it, so there couldn't be an accusation that we hadn't, we called up the State Department, and then there was going to be a call back, and to verify that, that it really was WikiLeaks contacting the State Department. They were very surprised, of course. And we did get a call back. We got a connection back through a back channel established by Hillary's people, and that back channel was Eric Schmidt's, the the chairman of Google, his girlfriend at the time, Lisa Shields. She was used as a back channel. She doesn't work for the State Department formally. She's the Director of Communications at the Council for Foreign Relations. So you have Google is literally in bed with the State Department. Literally. Its chief executive. Chief executive's lover was being used as the back channel from Hillary Clinton to me. And that made me very intrigued as to exactly who these people were who had come to see me and what their relationships were and what Google was all about. Now, in the new digital age, there is some description and discussion of of WikiLeaks. And it's quite interesting. On the one hand, there's some description which is fair and high-minded. But then you see something else kicking in. So that might even be, Eric Schmidt as an engineer having some rapport with me. And we both don't like censorship by the Chinese, for example. Google doesn't like it on them, we don't like it on us. But then you can see that they clearly believe they cannot say that publicly. They can't give that view, and I think they probably also don't have that view entirely. So they find a need to demonize us and say that, that we're sort of like high-tech terrorists, and there needs to be centralized state regulation and pre-vetting of materials that sites like WikiLeaks publish.
In your previous book, Cypherpunks, you wrote, "The world is not sliding, but galloping into a new transnational dystopia." What can be done to pull back on the reins and change the course of history?
Yes, that's right. I wrote that in 2012. That's still correct. In fact, there's even more significant signs that is occurring. It may not be possible to stop it. That's the reality. It may actually not be possible to stop it. But there are some elements of hope, and they're the only game in town. So if we don't want to live in a dystopia, we're going to have to try these, because that's all that there is. We can't simply become Neo-Luddites and go back to the cave. Maybe that will protect a couple of people for a little while, but by doing that you pull yourself out of society and you cease to adjust its path. So the hopeful signs are these. For example, in this standoff with Edward Snowden, the National Security Agency was after him. Essentially all of US intelligence was after him once he first became public in Hong Kong. The US was exerting very significant diplomatic pressure, intelligence pressure, to locate him, pressure the Hong Kong authorities to arrest him, and so on. And WikiLeaks and its small team decided that we had to stop him being arrested because it would send a very bad signal. And so we went in to Hong Kong. We engaged in various, forms of secret communications to protect our operation, to get him asylum. Got him out, and eventually got him asylum in Russia, where he is still safe. Now, the question is, how was that possible? Given the amount of resources, this is the largest intelligence manhunt the world has ever seen. How was that possible? That a small publisher, a publisher with some experience in dealing with security agencies, but nonetheless, a small publisher would able to defeat the National Security Agency and the US diplomatic establishment in a well-defined, head-on conflict. How is it we were able to do that? It's not because, that we're so amazing or that our resources are so huge. We were determined. We used some interesting technology of our own. But most of all, because the National Security Agency and the US State Department and so on, these are very big bureaucracies. And these big bureaucracies are actually fairly incompetent because they are so big. So when you have this overreaching state merged with the largest of private industries, it becomes a dinosaur in some ways, and can be outmaneuvered with some clever ideas and enough will and so on. But those clever ideas that we use, they're basically encryption and yes, some political stuff. But I think small companies, startups, smaller governments, working out that they need to deploy encryption technology and understand companies like Google and what their threats are. It may mean that because of their small size, they can outmaneuver these much larger, slower organizations. And the smaller states in Latin America over the last 10 years have actually been doing that to some degree with the US empire. That is, that they've been able to get increase of sovereignty while the US was becoming much more powerful in its intelligence apparatus. Mind you, some of the explanation is the US has used that massive intelligence apparatus now principally on the Middle East in the past 10 years. It's taken its eye off the backyard. So it's hard to tell exactly which one of these two factors dominate, but nonetheless it seems to be the only hope we have, so we've got to play it.
parte de los gobiernos, para mejorar nuestras condiciones de enseñar y aprender, por un sindicato que promueva la discusión política y pedagógica, para formarnos colectivamente y disputarle el sentido común a la cultura del neoliberalismo y al patriarcado. Te invitamos a ser parte. Afiliate. Aten Capital, en las aulas y en las calles, nuestros lugares de lucha.
Hay fiesta en mi corazón.
Metro Neuquén 93. Sonido urbano.
Bueno, hoy nos estamos encontrando justamente en uno de los encuentros de la 154, en el compromiso con las identidades. Nosotros venimos trabajando con esta modalidad hace 8 años. La idea nace pensando en nuestros orígenes y en cómo la escuela ha ido invisibilizándolos a lo largo de su recorrido en la historia argentina. Y entendimos que además había muchas familias que justamente sus orígenes pertenecían y pertenecen a otros países, como también así de los pueblos originarios de nuestra tierra, como es el pueblo mapuche, y así también del norte argentino. Y la verdad que nos empezamos a replantear cuál era nuestro trabajo como escuela y qué estábamos reproduciendo. Al empezar a cuestionarnos, justamente abordamos qué implicaba trabajar desde un revisionismo histórico y así aparece la necesidad de armar encuentros y no actos. Este encuentro implica reunirnos pensando en una Argentina para todas y para todos y todes, en donde todos nuestros mundos sean posibles, en donde entender que la Argentina pasó además para poder serlo como es hoy en su configuración por diferentes conquistas, etnocidios que arrasaron con justamente nuestros orígenes, dando orígenes a unos nuevos, a otros, que entendemos que no son menos valiosos, pero sí es importante poder visibilizar a aquellos que sí están y a los que no se los ven y se los escucha. Frente a esto, por eso en nuestro compromiso no aparece solo la bandera argentina, la cual es de tela, la cual es palpable, la cual la llevamos con mucho orgullo, sino que además también están las banderas que conforman al resto de la comunidad. Este año, además de la huipala, de la huinifoye, chilena, paraguaya, colombiana, española, del pueblo del Estado plurinacional boliviano, también aparece de nuestra hermana Venezuela, lo cual es de un grato compartir, saber que estamos todas y todos y todes aquí, en esta comunidad. De hecho, en este momento tuvimos ahí un encuentro con los alumnos del turno tarde, en donde había que justamente ponernos de acuerdo quién llevaba cuál, cómo compartían las banderas con el grupo del turno mañana, y es alucinante ver entrar a una compañera que decide venir vestida además con la ropa típica paraguaya a decir quién la lleva conmigo. Y eso es un gesto de amor absoluto. O quienes se reencontraron con su historia mapuche, que no la conocían, no sabían, y buscando ahí un poquitito en la historia familiar aparecen fuertemente justamente nuestras raíces del pueblo mapuche, y querer llevar esa bandera con orgullo es maravillosa, como aquel que no es colombiano y no tiene nada que ver con Colombia, pero decide también llevarla, o aquel que quiere acompañar a una compañera que viene de Bolivia y quiere llevar esa bandera con ella porque la quiere a ella y porque es una manera también de decir, si vos podés llevar la mía, ¿por qué yo no puedo llevar la tuya? Y eso es una lección de vida enorme.